Good afternoon. Welcome to the Batman Show. Minus Eric Woods, who had a major work project he needed to get finished like today. And then Sir Ian sent me a message like 5 minutes ago saying that Great Britain has changed their timekeeping formula and they are now an hour behind from. Anyways, they did like a time switch and he's an hour from being home. So he will not be making it. But fear not. Big Al from Big Al Presents is here to keep us entertained on this fine Halloween day. How are you, sir?
Bring in the B team.
But you're Al, so you're like the Al team.
I'm the A team. I'm the true A team. I am doing fine. Happy Halloween to
Happy
everyone
Halloween.
out there. Thank you for having me on the Batman Show.
Thank you for coming on such short notice.
I have no life, therefore I'm pretty much almost always available for any streaming duties or co-hosting that needs to be done.
Well, we were going to dive deep into the horror scores of Howard Shore today, but I'm guessing you didn't have enough time to prep it within like the 10 minutes I gave you.
Howard Shore did a horror film? Okay.
He's done quite a few.
I'm sure he did. I just am not. I mean, full confession, I love soundtracks, but I'm not knowledgeable in them to speak.
That's okay.
So I mean, I can do my best. And,
we can still have a conversation.
Okay, and you said you were talking about Howard Shore. You said.
Well, that was the intent for today.
Yeah. Oh,
that's what I researched all weekend. But now we will move that to next week. And the John Barry Show will get pushed out yet again. Sorry, John Barry, but you keep getting kicked down the road.
Speaking of the B team, the Barry team.
I would not call John Barry a B-list composer, but
No, in fact I think he's the composer of a film that I really, really like a score. High Road to China. I think that's him.
Yes. Actually, yes. Yes.
Love that movie. Love that score.
It's a beautiful score. I do not have the soundtrack for that, but I do need to get it.
I do.
You got it on LP or
no? Just CD. I'm not.
You got it on CD? Okay.
Where it is? I think I just have the CD. I don't think I have the case anymore. But yeah, that is a beautiful score. I special ordered it when I worked at Borders.
Wow.
Got it because it's like one of those films that just perfect storm to me once. I just loved it and wanted the score. I got the book for it somewhere.
It's not like a high pricey disc, but it's not exactly a cheap disc. So
yeah.
Let me welcome the chat real fast. We have Cinematic Sound Radio Podcast. Eric Woods, apologizing for having a real life and a job that pays money. I understand. Until that day comes when I can pay all my contributors $100K a year plus benefits, we all have to have jobs.
Well, there is a $1 billion lottery happening today, so ticket.
Maybe I'll win that.
Yeah, unless you don't play it, then you can't win it. I wish I had a way to get it. I already have grand $1 billion dreams.
Well, Big Al, what's some of your favorite Halloween, scary, spooky, terrifying film scores?
Well, the first one, and I've seen it about 3 times in the past week. Well, not from beginning to end, but it's been on a few times. And that is John Carpenter's Halloween. Just the piano, and then I'm really not sure of the instrumental aspects, but it works on, as I always like to say, that spinal cord chilling tingler effect. And you hear that ding 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 ding, that piano chord, and it just gets me every time. I'm not sure your history with the Halloween series or that score, but that's the first one I always think of, and to me that's Halloween, that is horror, that is Michael Myers trying to come and kill me.
What about the Friday the 13th?
Also, I was watching that, in fact, last night. Same thing, the wah, 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 which is I'm not sure so much the musical aspect, but as it is a soundscape or a sound effect that they used, but they back it with the score, and yes, does the same thing. But I'm not sure so much how that might be considered a score as it is, like I said, a sound effect to increase your tension or your uh, sense of dread.
But you consider Halloween to be far superior to Friday the 13th, music-wise?
I believe so. Yeah. Now I wouldn't say far superior, because it is. I think Friday the 13th scores, music, and sounds are just as a part of this time of year as anything, but the Halloween score has just become so synonymous.
It's a lot more love, it seems.
Yeah, it gets more love. It's more of a true score, and there's a richness through it, and I have to also lump it in with another Carpenter score, which it shares a lot of the same elements with Halloween, and that's the score to The Fog, which is it's got a lot of. I mean, it's the same composer, John Carpenter, but it has a lot of similar elements, a lot of tonal similarities, but instead of Michael Myers coming to get you, ghostly pirates.
Okay, because Eric mentioned this on his show the other day, Prince of Darkness. Have you seen that movie?
John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. Yeah. Yes. In fact, we did a rewatch of that a while. I forget how long, like last year maybe. I don't remember the soundtrack for it. But like I said, with Carpenter involved, if he's got his handiwork in the scores, I think that's always a plus. I think he knows how to manipulate an audience with musical cues. I'd have to hear the main theme of Prince of Darkness again. It's a lesser known film of his, and it's one I do like. I remember seeing it for the first time on cable and didn't know it was John Carpenter until many, many years later. I'm like, oh, it's the same guy who did, that and The Thing, and which is another great, although he didn't do the soundtrack to The Thing, but that's also a good score as well.
Eric had Prince of Darkness listed as one of his top 5 of all time horror scores.
It maybe I'd have to hear it again. I haven't seen it in a long time since we did that last rewatch, and I haven't seen it since.
It did pique my interest to listen to it after he gave it such high praise.
Yeah, it would be something if I would need to hear the music outside of the film to kind of get the true feel for it. I'm sure within the film it was great because I remember the film is very eerie, and so I'm sure I would not doubt Eric Wood's word on any ranking of a film score. I would just have to hear it. It's not one that I'm readily knowledgeable about.
Anders Falk has joined us. He says, good evening. I know it's evening time for him, so happy Halloween evening. I hope you got lots of candy from trick-or-treating. Don't eat it all at one time. You will get a tummy ache. What else kind of gets you in the mood this time of year, music-wise?
Well, I mean, any horror soundtrack, of course, but also sometimes good old fashioned sound effects records I'll hear, and but I do ramp up my horror film viewing at this time of year. I've watched a few new ones this year.
Guys,
Uh, what have I watched this year? Uh, Significant Other, which is on Paramount Plus, which is
that
an
a horror movie or
alien.
is that like a Tinder date movie?
It's an alien horror film about a couple that have been together for a long time, and the woman has an anxiety issue, and they go to camp out for a weekend. He has an idea for a grand romantic gesture, and let's just say that before you get there, that you see a red meteor kind of streaking, and you know something the portents of doom and danger are ahead. But it's a nice little film. I really enjoyed it. It's got a few twists and turns. You think one thing's happening, then it kind of shifts on you a little bit, and but it has a sci-fi element to it. I like it. I would suggest it.
Now you're a big Universal Monster horror fan, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What are are there any Universal horror films that the scores in particular that you fancy, or they just kind of like all run together for you, or
Well, a lot of the like Dracula and Frankenstein. I think Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Mummy all used like classical suites, if I remember correctly. I think Swan Lake is used for Dracula.
really
Yeah, I think Bride of Frankenstein is a very good score. That would definitely be a good one to hit. But
the Franz Waxman Bride of Frankenstein?
I guess not sure about the name, but
Okay.
yeah, the 1935
Yeah.
Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah, that's a very good score, which I think was for the film. But a few of the earlier ones, if I'm not mistaken, they just used uh, whatever classical works they had in their audio vault to kind of to go with the film. Uh, a lot of uh, a lot of the old films don't rely as much on music as it does the visual and then the sound effects. Like in Dracula, you hear the howling of the wolf and the creaks, and that really sets it. I think it took them a while to really get to the fact that wow, musical scores really matter. Uh, once they went talkie, they thought, well, maybe they don't. There's like that little transitional thing because beforehand you have uh, something like Phantom of the Opera, which would have several different scores depending on who's playing and who you know different people wrote different music for things, and they've been redone over the year. Sadly, I don't really have any names or anything. Like I said, didn't have a lot of time to prepare.
All right, I appreciate you coming.
I'm trying, man.
I remember when we did the War of the Worlds rewatch a couple weeks ago. I commented like this movie needs more film score to it, but that really was sort of commonplace back in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah,
I
it was, you know,
Star
entering
Wars really kind of like amped up how much film score. That and Superman just dialed it up as to how much score can you compress into a film. And some people don't care for that. Other people like it. I always prefer more film score over less film score.
well, I mean, film scores always played a part. I mean, you go back to like Gone with the Wind and how important the stuff played to that, although it's not a horror film, unless of course, you hated slavery. But film score has always been very important in a film, but I think it's the uh, the attention given to it has shifted over the years. Big films always get a nice big score, but I think the even today, even lower end films, they still want to get someone decent to kind of do a score for it. Uh, Even like the worst found footage horror film, they still want to pay attention to some aspect of musical scores and songs to better the viewing experience. Because I was thinking of that when I was in the three minutes I had to think about this. There was a film that came out the time when Blair Witch Project came out, which, if I remember correctly, doesn't have any
It's got nothing.
music to it. It's just
It's got
it
nothing.
relies purely on the eerie sounds and visuals, and it's a very effective film. But there is a film that came out around the same time, in fact, a little before it, called The Last Broadcast. The guy named Stephen Avalos did it. And although it itself is not heavily music, there's not a lot of music in it, but there are some musical cues, some soundscapes, as I would say, that gives it an eerie feel. And some of the reveals, like it's kind of like a film documentary a guy is doing about the disappearance of these horror show hosts that were looking into the Jersey Devil, and they were found murdered.
Wasn't he on an episode of the X-Files one time?
The Jersey Devil?
Yeah.
Sorta. Ended up being a family or something, not anything like the true Jersey Devil story, but which actually is just a new release for Small Town Monsters getting ready to come out, called Bloodlines, the Jersey Devil story, some of the Jersey Devil stories. They have some good music. They're more of a documentary about Bigfoot or UFOs, and one of the music guys they've used is a guy named Brandon Dallow, and I love his stuff. He does it's that droning not synthesizer kind of electronic music that really does add to the film. Otherwise, it would just be watching a lot of stuff and people talking. But it just adds that great background feel to it. A lot of stuff. I know Brandon Dallow is just. I always remember some of my favorite of their documentaries has his music attached to it. So.
Retro Reels is joining us this afternoon. How are you, Retro? I hope you're having a good Halloween. I know you're big into the horror films. Will that continue on into this Thanksgiving month for you, or will it end today? I know Big Al will you'll dive into Hallmark Christmas movies from here?
I've already been dipping my toe into those, my friend. The last couple of days, I've been basically doing Christmas in the morning and then transitioning into the horror at night.
I would rather do the horror in the morning so I can get over it.
Depending on what the film is, though. I mean, there's plenty of Christmas viewing left to be done, all depending on which ones they're showing at what time of day, kind of thing. But this time of year, it's so much better to be a horror fan now than it used to be. because before it was like just that weekend they might show something. Now it's like a whole month of great horror stuff on a lot of the cable channels. And
I remember the independent channels back in the early '80s. They would show horror movies like Saturday and Sunday through October.
yeah,
And that
and
that was
now they're showing stuff almost every day.
yeah. Did
Yeah,
Did you ever see is it Reanimator or the green?
Reanimator.
Yeah, with the green
Yeah,
liquid. Yeah, I've only seen that on TV. I hear I've missed some bits of it
yeah,
that they had
that's
to cut out.
some good bits if you only saw it on regular television, because Barbara Crampton,
Yeah,
uh,
maybe one
beautiful
day
woman,
I'll sit down.
still to this day, beautiful woman. Yeah, Jeffrey Combs was in that. I had the honor of meeting him at a Star Trek convention once, and great guy, because he did a lot of he did Star Trek Enterprise, plus he was in Deep Space Nine.
He was a couple
First,
people in Deep Space Nine.
yeah, he played Wayoon. Uh,
Played
yeah,
the Ferengi guy from the
yeah, he's been a Ferengi.
yeah.
But then, of course, in Enterprise, he was Shran, the Andorian. I knew him. He's also played Edgar Allan Poe
Really?
in something, and he did a good job. It was. And the funny thing is, the first time I saw him was uh, during an English class that I was sitting in with one of my students when I was working at high school, and I was like, "It's Jeffrey Combs. I've met him." And some of the kids are like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's a real nice guy." You got to try to make yourself cool for the kids.
Speaking of the Pit and Pendulum, I noticed Entrada's got a like a remastered Pit and Pendulum. It was a movie came out, I think, in the early '90s with Lance Erskine in it. And,
Henriksen.
yeah, and who I
I
want
didn't
to
know
say
he did a. I didn't know he did a version.
trying. I think the composer's last name is Brand or Band or it's an English guy. And I looked it up on YouTube and I listened to the score and I thought, this has been remastered and it's been remastered well. This is going to sound good. The version on YouTube, the sound quality is not that good. It sounds kind of like a not so great orchestra. And I don't know if it was just not recorded well or wasn't mixed well or if the orchestra just sucked. I don't know. But I am interested in checking it out and listening to it. The movie was definitely a B movie.
Oh well,
Definitely.
yeah. Lance Henriksen has a lot of B movie cred. I will say that. Pumpkinhead. I don't know if that's.
That's a horror movie.
Yeah, it's a horror movie, but it could be classified as a B movie, a B plus movie, maybe. Maybe some would give it an A minus, perhaps. But I do know Pumpkinhead. He's been in a few Bigfoot films. He'll definitely pop up. In fact, Jeffrey Combs, he's in a Bigfoot film, I think, if I'm not mistaken, playing a very strange character with like big thick glasses. He's almost unrecognizable for some reason.
Johnny Shannon says it's Richard Band. Yes.
Richard Band. Okay.
Yeah, it seemed like he did a lot of B horror films. I'm interested to dig into his work because there was a lot of good concepts in the Pit and the Pendulum that I really, really enjoyed. I was just really wishing it was a better sound quality on what I listened to on YouTube. So I'm hoping the Entrada version, it's a 2-disc set, if I remember correctly. I'm hoping it'll have better sound elements on it. So fingers crossed for that.
Well, I know one horror score you were always talking about, and I finally broke down and watched the movie a few days ago, Mephisto Waltz.
Yes. Oh,
some creepy stuff, man.
that is Jerry Goldsmith's best horror work right there.
Yeah. Plus,
I'm like, Poltergeist 2? What? No. Yeah.
That's some good stuff. It did have a great soundtrack. Plus the use of the Mephisto Waltz, which is Liszt. That it was Oh yeah, and Jacqueline Bisset. Yeah. Pitter patty, pitter pat.
Oh, thumbs getting bitter battery. Yeah. Oh, she's not ugly at all. Hmm.
No, no, she is not.
No.
Yeah,
Did,
but
did you enjoy the movie?
yeah, I liked it. I mean, it's not,
It's weird.
it's early '70s and it's very psychological. I kind of knew the plot going in, so that didn't. So for me, it was more not figuring out what was going on, but to see how it would transpire, which for me is just as fine. It doesn't bother me to know a plot. Uh, and I enjoyed it. Just seeing just some of the motivations it seemed. Bissette's character was like kind of weird in some aspects, but it kind of fit with how it ended. Did you see it? Have you seen the film?
I've seen clips of it, and I need to sit down
Yeah,
and watch the entire thing. Boomer and I were going to watch it this month, but then Hurricane Ian happened, and that kind of changed
yeah.
everything.
That's kind of why I downloaded it, was in preparation for you two doing it. I was going to watch along, and I was like, yeah, sitting there, and you kept every now and then you were mentioning, oh, Mephisto Waltz is so the music is so good, and I had this little 2 hour window, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna watch it. Let's see what it's like.
I,
How it
I would
held up.
I would still love like a remastered and expanded
Yeah, that
Mephisto
would be
Waltz.
would definitely be a great uh, atmospheric piece to play like at a Halloween party.
Yeah,
For just that great background music.
you could put that in the Omen and Poltergeist in, and just put them on repeat, and
Yeah.
good to go all night long.
Omen is a film I seriously need to watch.
You've
For
never
some
seen the
reason,
Omen?
I have never seen the original Omen. I've
Really?
never seen it. Funny thing is, I've seen Omen 3, The Final Conflict.
Have you seen the second one?
I have not seen the second one either.
Oh,
I know the basic storyline. I mean, I know the concept. I just have
okay.
not seen it, but I've heard some of the music, which anytime you bring in choral aspects into a horror thing, into a horror score, for me, that ramps it up right there, because you're adding that mystical, that demonic aspect to it, because you're expecting Lucifer to pop up, in a puff of smoke or brimstone anytime any moment because of it.
Did you want to watch the Omen tonight?
Well, tonight there is a special broadcast on Professor Geek,
What time is he coming on?
9 o'clock
Eastern or Central?
Eastern, so 8 o'clock your time.
8. Um,
And I've got stuff I need
I
to
understand.
do. Yeah, Mondays is my Universal Horror page. That's what I do it. That's what I do a week's worth, and I still need. I was going to do that this afternoon, but somebody called, needed a little assistance on his broadcast this afternoon.
Well, we don't have to go for 3 hours. So
Plus I got pigs that need killing. It's that little Angry Birds
okay,
joke. Angry Birds joke.
okay,
I'm still one
okay.
of the few in this world that still plays regularly Angry Birds every few days when they update it. I love it. I'm not a big gamer, but I love Angry Birds. But no, I would like to watch it one day. I mean, it doesn't have to be on Halloween. It's a good movie as it is, and I like horror. So I think I heard someone said horror as a year-round kind of thing, and that's true. I very much like the Fan Man, horror all year round. It's
That's what
this month is when you amp it up, though.
Retro Reels is saying horror and all other genres year round for him. I can appreciate that. I'll listen to Christmas music whenever the mood strikes me. It don't have to be November or December. No. Retro also says he's finding it much harder to find good stuff these days amongst all the garbage that comes out. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of garbage that comes out.
Oh yeah,
That's for
there's
sure.
a lot of. I mean, you have to. I mean, ultimately you have to make the choice for yourself. I am one that will say I'm not going to worry about. I'll take recommendations all day long and kind of note it away, and some pay off. Like I watched something called Hell House LLC and Hellfest on suggestions of the Fan Man, which I think were both very good, solid horror films, and one's a slasher. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot. I mean, the horror genre has a lot of turkeys out there. Just guys with a videotape or an iPhone and trying to make a film and see if they could put it in a festival or something. Does not always work.
Yeah. Going back to the Omen real fast, do you have the score for the Omen?
No, I don't have the score for it. I heard it though. I hear it on YouTube, things like
Yeah,
that.
you can listen to the whole thing on
I'll
YouTube.
check that. Yeah, I'll check it out on YouTube. And but yeah, it's definitely a creepy one. I listened a little to Rosemary's Baby, which kind of has that similar choral aspect at one part of it. Uh, Another great score for this time of year.
What about The Exorcist?
Also good. Tubular Bells. Yeah. Exorcist is definitely a creepy one. It puts me right in that priest's shoes, like looking up at the at the house with the light going out of it, going, "This is not going to be fun."
I'm sure this is a big shock for everyone, but I've never seen The Exorcist.
I've only watched it once. I watched it very late in my life. I did not find it as terrifying as some did, because by then I'd been so desensitized by slasher. But it is a very good, kind of a psychological uh, type of a horror film. It really does get you thinking, more so than any. It's not the jump scare. It's the more visceral, the more, not visceral, but the more, like I said, psychological, the head game that a horror film can play. That to me is a better horror film when it's something you got to think about, when it plays on your own thoughts and ideas rather than just throwing something at you and making you scared. That's an endorphin rush, but true horror comes from something that sticks with you. And then you hear that, and sometimes when you hear that music and it takes you right there. You hear that little, like in The Omen, I know you hear that little uh, chant start, and suddenly you feel your heart start to kind of beat, and you feel a little more nervous than you did 10 seconds before. That's an effective score in my book.
It was Jerry Goldsmith's only Academy Award win.
Yeah, deservedly so, from what I've heard. That was a big time. 76. Was it 76
for The Omen?
Yeah,
I was thinking it was 78.
78. Okay, I can't. I don't know offhand.
I feel like it should have won for Star Trek: The Motion Picture as well.
Yeah, that was an excellent score.
I think if there hadn't been a Jaws, he might have won for Wind and the Lion. That was quite the score. But
Wind and the Lion, is that Connery?
Yeah, actually, yes. I don't want to say he's in blackface, but
He plays an Arab.
He does.
Yeah.
And Murphy Brown plays, I guess, herself for the most part.
Oh, okay. I didn't know she was in that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember that film. I know the title, never seen it. But there are a lot of big films I've never seen that some people would be surprised. As many people know, as much as I love film, there are some biggies out there I've never seen, like Lawrence of Arabia. Have yet to see. Like I said, The Omen, I have yet to see. It was only a couple years ago I finally got around to Casablanca.
Well, there are a lot of films in your defense,
That's true. Yeah.
and as
And I spent a huge swath of my life watching Star Wars over and over and over
yeah,
again.
yeah, exactly. How
So,
can I watch this other thing when I'm watching The Empire Strikes Back for the 2000th
yeah,
time?
I know. Come on, I've still got, I got to, there's always a chance one, and because a joke I always say, I'll watch Friends repeats, and they're like, we got to watch Die Hard. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, well, you didn't get Die Hard 2. It's like you got Die Hard again. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. Let's watch it again. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
like
I
everybody watching the
approve
same
of this
film over and
mentality.
over again.
Yeah.
But what are
It's
some?
it.
What if you had to? If you're doing a spooky movie party, what would be your go-to scores?
Well, Mephisto Waltz, Omen, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh yeah, good one.
Uh,
Speaking, considering that that's me in the Avatar.
that's your picture tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would throw in John Williams' Dracula, The Fury.
John Williams' Dracula, is that the 79?
Yes.
Okay, that's the what's the actor?
Franklin
Langella. Yeah,
Mhm.
I couldn't think of his name, but I knew he was Skeletor.
The movie's not. I don't think it's that great of a movie. It feels like a TV movie to me.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when it came out in theaters, but I don't really remember much about it except how he died. I'm like going, really?
Yeah, the ending was just not that
Kate,
great of a movie. And then they switched the names on the characters. Like, why this is just confusing.
yeah, because Kate Nelligan is in that too. I remember the actress that played in that. Yeah, a lot of great versions. Yeah, Dracula, gotta give it up for the Fang Man there. There are a lot of good versions out there.
What about for you?
John Carpenter, Halloween definitely would be a big one. Poltergeist would be a go-to. If I had to, Psycho.
Yeah.
I think it would be a really good one. The Omen. Even though I've never seen the film, the music is just creepy and evil. And outside of that, I don't really know. There's a lot of good ones out there. I don't know. I have to put some more thought on that one. But definitely, I think those are probably your top ones. The definite go-tos, I would believe. I'd like to maybe do an older theme. Maybe Bride of Frankenstein would be a good one to pull out. Some of the old Universal themes or something, or like I said, a good old-fashioned funny Halloween one, with the Monster Mash and
Hey, Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. Yeah,
I still haven't listened to this. I need to. Maybe I'll do that.
I honestly couldn't tell you what the score sounded like. It could be very good for all I just don't remember it for its music.
James Horner did a couple tracks on this. I don't remember which tracks he did. Guardian of Magic, Follow Emily, Sarah's theme was by James Horner. I don't know why he did those pieces and Don Debney did the rest, but I need to listen to this tonight. That should be my goal for today.
You're talking about. I think Exorcist would be a good one to play too for a Halloween party.
House has got Penny Dreadful on the LP first season. You need to listen to that. Victor Field, thank you for joining us, sir. He says Home Alone 2, Lost in New York was more of a direct copy of his parent than Die Hard 2. Yeah, I mean, Die Hard 2, while still a great Christmas film in its own right, did take a different track from the first one. He was not confined to just a building. He was spread out over an airport, and he had help, and he wasn't isolated. Yeah, and Die Hard 2 is no Die Hard 1, that's for sure.
Still good though. I enjoyed it.
It's okay. I mean, it's okay. You know, you want to watch a Christmas movie and you can't find your copy of Gremlins or Die Hard. You Die Hard 2 or Lethal Weapon. You're good to go. Right?
The eternal struggle will always continue. You'll never convince me that
the eternal struggle.
Film.
Well, I know you've got other things going on today, and you had a plan to come on here, so I won't detain you all afternoon, my friend.
Well, like I said, I am no Lord of the Score. That is to be sure. I do not have a wide knowledge of score as far as the minutia. I know what I like. I know what a good score should do to you. Like I said, if it hits me in the base of my spine, at the base of my neck and that spinal cord, and just which to me is not a good thing anymore because of my spinal cord being what it is.
Yeah,
but, that definitely is when something grabs you like that. It's really good. I mentioned it on the. Or did that rewatch of Piranha, the little undulating, nibbling sounds of the piranha as they're swimming, something like that. Just get So good movie score or just a good sound design, always essential for a good horror film.
Johnny asked about John Harrison's Creepshow. I haven't seen Creepshow. Have you? Al, are you familiar with Creepshow?
The film? Oh yeah. I love Creepshow. The film, yeah, both films actually. But the first one I did a. If anybody wants to check out my channel, Big Al Presents, I did basically a recommendation for 10 suggestions for Halloween entertainment to watch, and Creepshow was one of them. Made the Fan Man's list too.
Also, check out Big Al. What's your Universal Monster site?
Iconic Universal Monsters.
And that's on Facebook?
Okay. Yeah, it's on Facebook. Post 3 times a day. Scheduled 3 times a day. Little art, little, movie trivia, posters, lobby cards, toys, sometimes, depending. Whatever grabs me. I'm getting repeating a lot lately, so I'm not quite sure how much more I'm going to be able to contribute to it, but it's a great little resource right now. It's got some good art and some fun pictures, some fun facts. Sometimes a good video, a nice trailer or something.
Well, we'll just end this kind of early today. I know we usually go a little bit longer, but plans got changed like that this afternoon. I wanted to come on and do something for Halloween because it is Halloween today. But next week we'll be back with the horror scores. It is Halloween.
Oh,
hope you got some candy. Horror scores from Howard Shore next week, and then in theory followed the next week by John Barry. Finally, we'll see. Check out Big Al Presents. He does rewatches and reviews and impromptu live streams, and his Universal Monster page on Facebook. Check that out as well. Adopt, Don't Shop. Keep listening to great film scores. And
got Willow coming up on Saturday. Saturday night watching Willow. This Saturday watching Willow.
Okay. All right. I need to be awake for that Saturday night.
Okay.
Let me know what your favorite Halloween scores are down in the comment section, and we will see all of y'all very soon.
Bye, everyone. Happy Halloween. Stay safe.